All right, start to allow again. However that is, I mean, there's the asana way of, exhaling, but just start trying to, like sometimes I try to feel my bones, right? Or whatever it is, where you all of a sudden, I mean, honestly, I really think that it's a life skill to be able to find multiple different ways of learning how to um, let go, land, and the relationship between letting go and landing. Sometimes I say it this way: you have to let in to let go. So let in to let go, and let go to let in. Right. So actually, you have to go from both sides of that. Right. In order to let go, I have to kind of allow myself to be in the room. And that's where that instruction comes from. But in order to let it in, I do have to let go because my mind is usually and my brain is usually focusing on only a certain way of being here. It's a good way. It's how we actually live our lives and get things done and make copy and do this and do that, right? Like that's a good way of being, right? But it is only one way of being here. And we often don't even get how before we've even began, we've already narrowed our experience a lot. And so one of the things that asana showed me is the many different ways that I can be, right? And so it's not just that, so you're looking for different relationships. It's not just that there's, oh, I'm ready to do something or I'm relaxed. There's a lot of shades in between there, a lot of them. And that's one of the gifts of yoga is you start to not just go to a binary, now I'm centering, no, I'm not. It's like, wait, what's the process? And then you start to notice some days you're better at it than others. You start to realize a whole bunch of things. So again, one of the ways to try to start to focus to get to a certain place is pay attention to your exhale. Today I'm going to feel my bones. My bones are a little achy. Like, so I think that, or my tendons and ligaments are, I'm not sure which it is, but I think it's because it's fall's coming and I can feel the change in the barometer. And when I have that happen in their body, you can start to feel, it's like, wait, and there's a little bit of that ache or something. It's like, huh. So one of the things that I found when my muscles at that level are kind of hurting, and I'd say my bones are aching, is that I need to let in more grounding to get underneath it. Right. So I'm leaning onto the table in front of me right now, but I'm actually going to, part of my centering is going to be, can I get to the place below where I feel that ache in parts of my body? It almost always means feeling my whole body, not creating an equal distribution of presence. Remember, it's just your habit that pays attention to your thumbs and your face, and it's just habit. So when you start to let in more input from more of your body, not as a judgment, but as an exhale, as a relief, a more equal distribution of presence in your body is a relief, especially for your mind. So now soften organs of perception. So I'm doing all this time before I sit up straight and tall, because I need to find, allow. So I'm really trying to feel like I accept my whole body into my presence. So naturally, to do that, your eyes would have to soften. Your judgment has to quiet. So soften your jaw, the skin on your face. These are all natural things that happen when you allow. And I'm doing this, I'm realizing that I didn't get quite enough sleep last night. So it's like, now I'm going to transition that to sitting up straight and tall, trying to bring it all with me. As I feel the both ends of my spine, my sitting bones, and lifting my chest, I want to stay with my feet. I'm going to activate by dropping my shoulder blades, but spreading them. I'm going to make sure I lengthen from the inner groin to the inner knee and down to the inner heel, because I'm creating alertness. I'm not just doing the instructions. Now I'm going to go softer again and balance my head over my neck. When you start to take action, undoubtedly you gripped the organs of perception. So now keep the spine alert, a slightly more active presence in your body, and re-soften the organs of perception. First around the temples and the eyes, and then go inward and soften the base of the tongue and the inside of the mouth. Close your eyes if you haven't. Let go of your day. Prepare your mind to do yoga. Good. And then release. Take your sternum up towards your chin and your chin down over your sternum. So when you say release, you let the attention let go for a second. And then you do this thing in yoga called reposing, where you start fresh again. Lift your chest, drop your chin. Feel the breath into each nostril, into each lung. Stay connected to each sitting bone. Feel the sturdiness, the potential of sturdiness without constraint. Raise your head up with closed eyes. Open your eyes. So this idea of sturdiness or action that actually leads to freedom as opposed to constraint. It's like I often call it the sweet range of action, right? Where you start to recognize how hard you need to work to invigorate, but not so hard you clench, right? So I'm going to do it with my hands in prayer. You can do it with your hands on your table, hands on your thighs. If you can't balance, putting your hands up. But I want you to start to engage and show your mind. Remember, your mind has a hard time, like knowing if it tries to lead, if you don't let your body lead your mind in asana, you're going to struggle. You're going to never ungrip your organs of perception. So I want you to bring your hands together or whatever on the table and show yourself. Just let your hands touch the table, or your hands, and like it's got nothing. Like they're touching, and that's input. But now start to activate, right? And then release again. So now I'm bringing my palms together and I'm connecting it to the feeling between my shoulder blades, the skin dropping on my black body, and where my sitting bones are. So now I'm going to activate. And as my palms go better together or onto the table or whatever, I'm using that being the lead, connected to a whole bunch of alertness on the inside of my body. Then I'm going to release again. So you're learning how to start to include more of you in one action. This is a really important skill, right? It's one that I practice a lot. So here I'm going to start to activate my hands again. And I'm going to try to include even more of me. So my body starts to align. Am I equal on my sitting bones? How are my feet? And I make it all be connected to the equality between my hands coming together. Soften the jaw, the inside of the mouth. And then I'm going to release again. Now this time, I'm going to come together like this, and then I'm going to keep pressing my hands until I really am pressing kind of hard and see the diminishing returns of working too hard, right? So I'm going to keep pushing together with my hands. And there's a certain point where I can feel the muscles start activating and I'm losing something. I'm gaining maybe some strength, but so now I'm watching fatigue happen in my forearms and a whole bunch of things start changing when I'm going too hard. And then I'm going to release again. And now I'm going to find that range where all of me's activated up, like pulled up, right? And grounded. And I'm going to try to make that happen. This place of activation and release, I want this to happen in every yoga pose. I want to find the optimal level of effort. Good, and then release. All right, so I'm going to sit up tall again. So this idea of reposing again. So now when I moved, unlocked my wheelchair, moved back, that's a drop, right? So this, in every repose, this happens while you're still doing a pose. You often start over in a pose, over and over again. There's always a beginning and an ending, right? So now I'm going to sit up straight and tall, activate my sitting bones, lift my lower abdomen, extend down. And I always say, you ever wondered why I always say inner groin to inner knee to inner heel? Why not the outer edge? Well, you should figure that out sometime when you're at home. Why would I always instruct the inner edge? Right? It's not by coincidence. It's by inward body map, the way your brain's wired. Okay? And lift your chest. Get taller. So now we're making the space with effort. So I want your sitting bones to hit down and you to rise up, down to go up, right? And you're creating space through effort. Good, and then release. And then there's a point where I want you to lift your chest. I want you to practice over lifting your chest, right? And show you right where the part in your back goes, right where you overwork, exactly where, pay attention to where you go out of balance. So now I'm going to over crank. There's me showing you, there's me going like too hard. This is where I'm trying to prove to the world that I'm really good at yoga, right? I got it going here. Find that place where you're overdoing, right? And then release, and then dang, and I almost felt like violence on my body. Like that actually hurt my diaphragm, right? Like it's like, oh, that was not how I want to do yoga, right? And so now find again this place, this mid-range. It's not an exact place. Your mind would try to make it exact. No, it's a range, depending on how you're feeling that day. So find where you hit down, rise up, but you're lengthening your spine. You're feeling the spaces between your vertebrae. So I can tell, I can see it inwardly. I can just tell you, I can feel the couple of vertebrae I don't feel as well in my back and where they are and where there's a rotation, right? Yeah. So that's what I get when I effortfully lengthen my spine and then release. Now I want you to lift up. And now I want gravity to lengthen your spine, right? Totally different sensation. Let the traction, and then set yourself back down. So now we're practicing space that's coming not from effortful action in your spine, right? It's coming from a different place. Lift up again. If I could just have more of this type of relief in my back, even when I sit down, I'd be happier, right? So now when you come forward onto a table or under your legs, right? Now we're looking for that in between when I was hitting down and making it more, right? And when I was letting it hang. So now I've changed gravity halfway. So I'm halfway forward, right? And I'm hitting my sitting bones down and I'm making space a different way. Feeling my legs, but when I'm leaning forward, I lose something, but I gain something. A whole bunch of things are happening, right? But now I want to like find that space in my back and let it feed the lift in my chest, right? As a whole, like, wait, they're related. And take a breath. Feel the expansion of your rib cage on inhalation. And then what should you do on exhalation? Be your own yogi there for a second. Figure out what you should do. Good. And then release. And then I'm going to lift up again. And then back down and then come forward again. And I'm just having space in my spine from different directions, different ways. Taking a couple breaths into it. Good. And then back up. If I'd been right on my sequence, I would have had you twist before you felt space in your back so you could contrast it. So sit up straight and tall. Gently take your left arm outside your right leg. Don't want you to crank this twist. I want you to do it with a sense of lightness, but grounded lightness. Now, on this one, I want to have you err on the side of less effort, right? So don't crank it. Don't look for the sweet rain. Just like get the feeling of movement, kind of like cracking your knuckles, and then go back to the middle. So you're just like changing the input, go the other way. So this is not one where you're looking for the optimal. You're just trying to get a new energy coming through your spine, coming through your being. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. There'll be time to make that twist maybe better in a second. So again, now when I sit back down, because now when I go into center, because I've made this space, I naturally readjust myself. Because when I just go back to where I normally sit, I actually now have this other sensation that I'm trying to bring forward. So my adjustment of my pose starts to happen without me having to choose it directly, because I'm following something. Good. And then inhale and take your left arm up. Hit down now with your shoulder blade. But now, once I hit down with my shoulder blade, my tendency is to compress my spine, right? So I'm going to go against that and rise up as I'm dropping my shoulder blade. Good. And then release. So yoga is increased consciousness by putting your mind in a paradox, right? So now the other arm's up. So right now I'm going to drop my shoulder blade, and right away I feel a drop in my base. Now I'm going to refine the space in my back and my shoulder and my palm and up beyond my fingertips. I'm not letting go of the freedom of space. No one can make you let go of the freedom of space, right? That's up to you. Good. And then release. Now I'm going to take both arms up. And now for me, because I don't have the same balance that a lot of you have, I'm going to compress. So this is not going to feel as good, right? But I'm going to take both arms up, right? And I find a way to lean against my chair to stay on balance, right? Which isn't optimal. And I'm going to just now try to build length between those vertebrae, right? So instead of like reaching my fingertips higher, I'm going to go from my spine to my fingertips. And then back down. I know not to hold that one. So now I'm going to come forward again, lengthen my spine. So you guys get me on Monday mornings. I'm always trying to wake up my body for the week. I don't just practice Mondays for Monday. I practice for the week. I'm doing that a lot. I'm like practicing for future and then trying to let go of things in the past a lot, right? So I'm lengthening my back. And now I like the fact that I feel more grounded. I'm going to activate my sitting bones, feel my feet, lift my chest, broaden across my collarbones, all the while watching how the actions in my torso and my legs change the way the weight distributes onto the table. Why? Because I'm a whole, WHOLE. Any action reflects everywhere else. And I'm going to breathe. Good. And then back up. There's a really important line that I think about all the time from the Yoga Sutras that I've said to you before. B.K. Iyengar's translation of a certain, remember, he's an asana practitioner, so he's going to hear wise lines in terms of asana. But he says, when effortful effort becomes effortless, I've encountered the fourth method of pranayama. In other words, my breathing gets better. That breathing can go from body to mind and from body to lungs and not just from lungs to body, right? So take your arms up over your head. Notice the changes in your breath. I feel the compression right in my spine a little bit. And so I'm not going to try to offset that by forcing my breath. I'm going to try to lengthen from inside to out. And take a breath and then back down. And then I'm going to come forward again. And notice the different places I can breathe better into. So when I'm forward and grounded, my breath into my rib cage and back changes and opens more spaces. So I'm going to pay attention to that. I'm going to watch how when I'm grounded, I can breathe more fully. Now, as I watch my rib cage more easily expand, I want to make sure my mind and my consciousness stays connected to my legs. Remember, not unlike what we did with the palms, feeling the whole body. Let your rib cage now and the back and forth of your rib cage be connected to your whole body. And just feel that. Good. And then come back up, lift up. I'm trying to find that space again, that freedom from emptiness that comes as relief, right? Space is emptiness that comes from relief, right? And then come forward again. So now I'm trying to stay connected to the lightness I felt when I let my spine hang. And now I'm going to try to keep that feeling. Feel my sitting bones broaden across my sacrum now. Feel where my feet are now. And then when I've got all those kind of marked on the inside, I'm going to lift my chest and let the activation travel through my body. So right now, when I do that and add the chest last, I get more awareness in my legs, but without effort. It's not that I tried harder to lift my chest to create the effort. The awareness went through my body. Effortful effort became effortless. So my breathing changed. That's what he's talking about. Good, and then release. So now take both arms wide. Right away, I feel the compression, right? Okay, of my spine. It's slight, But now I'm going to ground my shoulder blades, open my palms, feel my sitting bones in my feet. Sure, I'm going to start to feel fatigue because I don't have the trunk control you do. But maybe the tops of your arms are feeling the fatigue, the tops of your shoulders. Can you lengthen more on the underside of your arms? And breathe? That's actually hard for me. Good, and then release. So this idea of, did you feel the fatigue come more up here first when you take your arms wide, right? Can you figure out how to work from the underside? And this next time, can you figure out how to work from the underside of your arms? And then when you start to work from the underside of your arms, something's going to happen. You're going to have to, well, I shouldn't tell you. Shoot, you should do it yourself. Take your arms wide. Or whatever they are, like this. So if you can't get your arms wide, like open your chest and stuff. But that's part of the reveal, right? So now, if I stay here long enough and let fatigue start to come in, crap, it comes in more on my right shoulder because that's always my sore shoulder, right? Now I'm going to go try to find the underside of my arms and take a breath. Now I'm in a realm where I cannot take a deep breath because of how I'm paralyzed. I have to be careful. Good, and then release. So how did you find the underside of your arms? Did you hit down through your sitting bones? Feel the side waist come up, shoulder blades drop, right? That must be an energetic wisdom, right? So this centering position in the beginning is actually setting the stage for a whole bunch of asana, right? It's actually in a whole bunch of asana. It's not just for centering. It's to bring alertness and awareness to a certain sensation, all right? Okay, so now I want you to take your legs wide. So if you're sitting on the ground, take your legs wide. I'm going to take my feet off the pedals, right? So I've been liking, see what happens when I teach online, I actually do the yoga with you. So like, then we just kind of do what I want to do, just so you know. It's a little bit selfish of a teacher, right? Not exactly true. But so now I want to feel what it's like to have my sitting bones and my legs wider. For those of you that can like do it more readily and feel your feet on the floor easily, feel that, right? So now I'm going to take the inside of my arms and push against my legs here. I should lower my, I can back up. Maybe. I don't know what you're seeing. So open it up. Can you tell which groin is tighter? Okay, so what are you going to do about that? You know, in general, the equal distribution of presence is actually important. I can tell you right now that the way I'm sitting right now, this groin's tighter. So I'm going to try to like put more awareness in the opposite sitting bone. Now, the reason why I can't tell you which one it is, like there isn't one way for you to do this, is I don't know what's going on in your body. Okay, but so now as I can tell that this needs, I'm widening here and pushing down here and then lifting my chest, I can tell that this relationship in my pelvis is more grounded. Why? Because I fall this way and I lose connection to space around me. So I'm getting this open, this grounded, my chest lifted equally. So figure out what your way of being more equal is. If I were with you, I could probably look at your body and give you instructions. I'm not right in front of you. You got to figure it out yourself. And once I get this more equal sense of grounding, it is a good time for me to breathe. I'm going to feel my breath and let it fill in. Good, and then release. So even though I can tell that in general, because I take way more weight into this sits bone, right? Even though I know that I need to go get more weight on this sitting bone, right? And I should, so in my own practice, because I'm trying to show you guys how to practice more at home. I still have to do it the other way. So I'm going to go and push down on the side, because you want to have the imprint to your mind be equal. So I'm pushing now down on my left sitting bone, taking my right leg farther out. I'm giving you opposite instructions, right? I'm trying to mirror you, and I'm going to get that, ooh, this is totally different. But I'm trying to get so I can do it. And this isn't as necessary because I already have more weight in this sitting bone, my left sitting bone. but I'm feeling it from side to side because I want the imprint to my mind to be equal. Right, good, and then release. But I know physically I need to do the other one more. So I'm going to do this side twice in my own practice, right? Because I know, so I'm going to widen this leg, hit down with this sitting bone. And if you think you're equal, hit down on both sitting bones, right? Like push down. I've got my hand right there in that crevice, and I'm pushing down. And I'm trying to straighten out, but I'm keeping my brain getting input from both sides of my body. I put opening my groin and grounding. Both of the hemispheres of my brain are getting engaged. Because I'm being asked and tasked from side to side. That's a good time to breathe. When you're actually getting both sides of the brain taxed. Good, and then release. So now I'm gonna bring my legs back together. Hopefully your legs were wide enough that you feel a chain, you got your groin almost got a little bit too open, right? Not in a bad way. So then I'm gonna push down on my femur bones and ground it. So bringing back a sense of nourishment after my groins were more open. And so I'm especially, when I take in an inhalation, I'm grounding my groin. I'm going to especially feel the relief on exhalation. I'm going to inhale and feed the fire to the flame. I'm going to exhale and let it glow inwardly. One of the things that sometimes I tell myself is that relief is a form of glow. Instead of it being like emptiness, really, it's like it's a glow. Take your legs wide again. So this idea of getting length in your lower abdomen, there's a spasm in my stomach, right? So what I want you to do, actually, yeah, we'll do it with the legs. If you're not feeling safe, like I'm right on the edge of not feeling safe, like I'm gonna fall out, but I got it under control. I want you to lean over to your right and push onto your right groin. So you're leaning over to your left foot and you're pushing down and lengthen your lower abdomen away from the pressure you're putting down. We're just trying to make space in your back, right? And change the gravity flow, right? So you're feeling this. And then release. Come back to center. Now I don't have an easy ready-made table over here. So I'm gonna lean over and put my forearm on my wheelchair wheel and do the same thing over here. So as I ground through my left sitting bone and lift my chest, I'm trying to get a sense of space in the low part of my spine. And lift the chest. Good. And then bring your legs back together. Now again, to get a sense of grounding, instead of pushing down this time, I'm going to push against my knees back, in and up. So I'm doing a different kind of grounding. Right? It's got a different direction. The tendency makes me lift my chest, but I have to be careful not to overdo that part of your back that you overwork all the time. So it's a different vertebrae for everybody usually. So I'm feeling this sense of grounding here. And then release. I'm going to try to do the length again because we're building sequences here, right? So I'm going to lengthen my back. So if you were on the floor, like Kelly, you put your hands on by each side of your leg and just come forward and kind of more like Paschimottanasana, right? So you're lengthening your back, lifting in a sternum, so you're getting that space again. And you're calling that space the heart of your asana. The action is just to help you feel the space. So breathe into the space. Remember, we started this, or I started what I was doing because my bones were aching. And so I was finding, and I said, oh, is it my bones or is it my tendons and ligaments hitting my bones? I'm not sure. But I want to create a kind of space that's going from length in my back and letting it go to other places in my body. Good. And then come back up. Take this grounded position. So now my hands are just on my thighs. And then I'm going to go up and over the back of my chair. So now I'm just trying to make and feel and open the hood of my chest. So this week, I want the inside of my chest to be more interactive with the world, right? Good, and then release. Come forward again. So this last week, I did a lot of teaching. And so when I know that I wasn't as open, believe it or not, I was trying to convey content. So this week, I'm going to be a little bit different because I don't have to teach as much. I don't know what your week's been different, but notice differences. Notice how you probably worked too hard last week in a certain way. And now you got to be different this week. So choose on Monday what you need to work, what you need to feel this week to get back to center. Good. And then come on back up. Backing up over your chair. My breath is so different and learning when not to make your breath violent is really important. And I mean like violent by trying to push too hard. All right. So now I want you to put your left arm on your leg or on the table, right? And I want you to push and make your arm straight and make it grounded, right? And I want you to press down through your right sitting bone and right heel. And I want you to lift equally under the collarbones, right, on each side. And make this a pose. And then release. So, and then take your right hand on the table, straighten your arm like it actually has a purpose, right? Feel more on the left sitting bone and the left foot. Lift under both collarbones. Feed an asymmetrical sensation in your body. Good, and then release. Go back to the first side. Again, I'm trying to wake up my core channel in a whole bunch of different ways. So I'm doing left hand down, right sitting bone, right heel, lift under the collarbones equally, drop the shoulder blades equally, even though I've got more input coming in asymmetrically. Good, and then release and do the other one. Again, right hand with action, not just drooping, right hand with action, shoulder blade down. Feel each sitting bone and then press more on the left sitting bone and the left foot and feel it from side to side. Feel the asymmetrical pull while part of you still trying to be in alignment. This type of asymmetrical, symmetrical awareness on different levels, it's in every yoga pose, right? Your mind just gets calmer with it and then release because the poses are going to make you move and take effort asymmetrically. And remember, you're looking for effortful effort to become effortless.
Yeah.
Someone have a question? Didn't hear that. Okay. All right. So now I want you to lean. Got somebody talking here a little bit. It looks like everyone's muted but me. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Okay, so now I'm gonna if you don't have a table, I'm gonna lean on something, but you can come way over, right? Now I'm gonna go to the floor this time, but be safe, right? Be smart. And I'm gonna go way over, more over than I usually do. But now I gotta figure out how to have my legs, right? I gotta figure out how to make my spine be grounded and my breath. Good, and then come on back up. Now the other way, I know I'm going to have to be careful. I'm going to lock my bricks going this way because I could go over here, right? All right, so I'm coming over. Ooh, this one doesn't work as good, right? So I'm trying to lengthen my spine, being more over than I would normally be. So now you're changing gravity and you're trying to reconfigure the equal distribution of presence that comes from yogic awareness. Good, and then come on back up. So now that I've taken a picture of side to side, right, and I can tell which side I did more effortlessly, and then also where I need to work on each side. And I'm this time, instead of going over so far, because when I go all the way over, I expose even more of my asymmetry and kind of the warts of that part of the pose. So I'm not going to come down as far. Okay, so I'm going to come over to the side and figure out and remember what was missing, right? And so now I'm going to like really practice. So like, you know, like the thing that's great about yoga, you should use the props around your house, right? So I'm just using this kind of bench here with like some yoga props on. So instead of coming all the way down, I'm trying to stay symmetrical and now release and come down, right? And then realize what I lost and try to regain it, even though I'm more off balance. And breathe, and then come on up. Sit up straight and tall. Actually, lean forward. I want to close my back. I'm actually going to take it off so it's not in the way. So now, because I know that this was my worst side and this really helped, I'm going to turn around and you're going to look at my back, but I'm going to do it better, more supported on the side that I needed more help with, right? This is the side I need more help with. So I'm going to go, instead of all the way down, I'm going to go over to where there isn't as much gravity struggle. And I'm going to feel what this feels like and breathe, right? And I'm going to take a picture and then I'm going to go down and see what collapsed. Right, and then try to use, I'm gonna go back up here and feel it again. And then go down and try to reconfigure the space I had that was up here. There's space, there's collapse. Is there a place in between where I can be down like this and still feel a sense of space and freedom? Good, and then come on back up. So there definitely are physical facts. Like when I'm all the way down to the floor there, it's more tenuous. But can I still create a sense of grounded balance even though I'm more off balance, right? And then come forward again. Make equal distribution of awareness on each side of your spine and into each leg. Feel your breath. Good, and now lift up again. Feel that length. Good, set yourself back down. Go off to the side. I'm going to go under a chair again. But wait, I'm going to go less far. I'm going to go and push down on my opposite femur bone. So I'm getting an exaggerated sense of space and lift, but I don't want this to go with my shoulder. I want to get the separation between my femur bone, my lower abdomen, and ground my shoulder blade and lift the center of my chest. And I'm going to breathe. So we're basically doing standing poses today in all different versions, right? And then go the other way. Okay, so I'm going to press down. So this separation between here and here, right? The lift in the chest. So I'm not separating and going like this. I'm getting a fullness in my rib cage, right? A separation between here and there. And a breath. And I'm trying to tell you that although that separation is more active, it's not completely different than the space you get from lifting up. Right? And then go over right? I'm going to go over onto my forearm and I'm going to get that space. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to take this right leg off the pedal. So I'm changing. I'm going to go off more off balance because now I don't have the same support underneath my feet. But I'm doing the same thing here. And I'm creating space and I'm lifting my chest. And then I'm going to release. Come back to center. We're doing more things on one side because we're going to go do the same sequence on the other side. And then I'm going to lean over, ground myself. Where this is on a table, I have it on my wheel, right? I'm going to press down. And then I'm going to take my arm straight over my. Now I'm going to use the reference. Keep your arm up. Use that reference of just pushing on that leg to extend out through your knee, down to the floor, as this, and then turn your torso up towards the ceiling. Feel the whole body. Good, and then release. And then bring the leg in. So this is bring it back in the center. This is a version of side plank pose. Parsvakonasana. So I'm just gonna register what I feel on this side of my body. Realize that the other side of my body kind of longs for it. The spaciousness, there's a cleansing fatigue, right? And then I'm gonna go the other way. Lean over. Well, first of all, pardon me, no, the leg's not, it's still on the pedal. Got to keep the sequence the same. You're gonna lean over and push down on the left femur bone. Make that space. Make sure you keep it all the way through your spine. And once it's going up through your spine, you can go underneath it and extend down through your legs. So this is more grounded in the midline. And then back to center. And then take your left leg off the pedal. So now your gravity's changed. Got to use gravity to create fullness, right? And then lean over, press down on the femur bone, lift the chest, breathe, and then come back into center. Be in the center. And then the last time you're going to take the arm over your head. You're going to lean over, you're going to ground, you're going to not collapse anything through here. Take your arm up over your head. Now roll the spine skyward, but don't lose the grounding of your legs, right? So you ground your legs and then roll, lengthening your spine, right? And breathing. Breathe all the way down to your tailbone, to your sitting bones. Use that for length and extension. And then exhale into even more length. Good, and then come on back up. Your feet straight ahead. Put both feet down. Ground again. So again, now I want you to lengthen your spine. However you do that, if you're putting your arms on the table or your forearms on your thighs, you lengthen your spine again. Take stock of each side of your spine, the feeling of space in your spine. So now I want you to come back up. And so we've been pushing on one femur bone at a time, right? To get a sense of separation here and a sense of space. So now in a second, don't do it yet. When I ask you to go back and up and over your chair, I want you to very more consciously put pressure on each thigh. So right when I start, I have a sense of space in my lower abdomen in relationship to my legs. So I've got it. And then I'm going up and over, right? So my legs, I'm working for that space and then release, come forward. So I'm trying to get the space we've been working for. I'm wanting that space and grounding to be part of the back bend, right? And so all these things are hard to do in a chair because the compression is so much more evident, right? And so when you do yoga in a chair, you really have to work on space. between your spine and your legs. So now I know I'm about to back bend. I'm going to try grounding a little bit. In fact, I'm going to push it on my hips a little bit. I'm going to push inward on my hip bones because I can tell that feels good, right? So instead of like pushing straight down, I'm going to do this a couple of times, like putting reference on my outer hips and finding where my core channel is, right? And then I'm going to release. And then as I do that again, I'm going to lift my chest as I push in on my own like femur bone, on the head of the femur, and lift the chest. Because I know, and then release. As soon as I go to tip back, whether it physically happens or not, my legs are going to splail open, whether it's physical or energetic. And I know if I'm being more grounded, I want my energy to stay in the midline. Okay? Even though my legs might not do that. So again, I'm feeling this connection, but now I'm going to switch because I want to now keep this imprint, right? Ground, because we're looking for this lower abdomen space. But now I'm going to come back and I'm going to figure out how to push down on my femur bones and the skin away towards my knees as I come up. And so once I get this right here, it's going to be easier for me to lift the hood of my chest. When I get this more open, then when I go back, I can connect this space to this space in the chest and up and over. Good, and then release. So if you need to prove it to yourself, like I always do, because my mind always resists the wonder of the inside of yoga poses because my mind doesn't feel in control of that. I'm just going to do a back bend without putting any grounding on my legs, right? Go up and over and just feel how different it is, right? When you go up and over, right, and you don't do any of the grounding, the back bend is much more in the upper body, at least for me. Right now, good, and then release. So those of you that have full access to your legs, you probably, without even meaning to, you probably put more attention in your legs, right? Good, right? But now there's the level of which you just do it by action that you're not aware of. And then how do you do it in a way that includes your bones? That's going to be a different level of awareness, right? So put your hands. So one of the reasons why this helps more, to me at least, is when I push into my femur bones, I feel my bones better. Does anyone else feel relief here? I feel like relief here. It's like, holy crimes, let's call that bones, right? That's the level of prana that I don't have to be as in charge of, right? Now, as soon as I let go, my mind loses it a little bit, but your mind has access to memory, right? So I'm gonna go back in and go, wait, I want this with me. And so now, keeping this feeling in my brain, I'm gonna go to my legs. I'm gonna lose something here, but I'm gonna try to figure out how to hold my own legs where I don't lose this as much. Now I'm going to create a separation between my legs and my abdomen right here. Because I was saying, when you can get this more open here, you'll be able to open the hood of your chest better in the back bend. So I'm going to ground, feel this energy, ground, come up and over the back of my chair. Open the hood of my chest. And because I've got a better connection in my lower abdomen, I can find my heels better. I hope you can too. Good, and then release. So now we're going to start backing out of the room, right? So now come forward, bring your hands on your knees. Like in other words, we're going to go kind of visit before Shavasana, right? Put your hands into your knees and ground yourself. Release. Take your left hand outside your right leg. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, revolve. Gently revolve. Stay connected to your sitting bones. Feel the space in your lower back and lower abdomen. Connect that to the floor and up through the chest. You've earned all of this freshness. It should feel some freshness here. And then release and go the other way. Again, after back bending, it just makes sense to twist a little bit, right? To help you heal. So inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Not super hard, but really try to find that abdominal length how that reveals the floor to you and the lifted chest. Good. And then come on back to center. Be in the center. Do this symmetry practice quick, where you start allowing more input into your brain, to your mind. Each foot, each sitting bone, each side of the chest, each nostril, each temple, front and back body. You're like literally going right to an alert symmetry. And take a couple of breaths. And then release and prepare for Shavasana. So for me, I kind of scoot forward and I tip back a little bit so I can feel safe and supported. Even though I feel the support more on one side of my back than the other because of my scoliosis. So I just kind of accept that. And what that does is make me less aware right here. So as I'm preparing for Shavasana, I derotate a little bit and feel the space of more alignment, and then I really let go. I won't hold it the whole time, but I open it before I let it go. Soften the organs of perception. Temples, skin on the forehead. I give particular instructions, but I hope you're getting better at doing it all at once. The jaw, the inside of the mouth, they all actually are the same instruction. Feel your breath. Don't change it. Thank your body. Thank it again. So I feel a little bit more of a sense of space. I'm going to try to bring that into the whole week. So I'm taking a moment here to remember you can get to this sense of space through asana, or you can just know that it's there. So slightly deeper inhalation, slightly longer exhalation. When you're ready, open your eyes slowly and close them. So I remember in my yoga practice, there was a big breakthrough one time for me. And this is always, there's multiple lessons to this, right? In learning how to soften the organs of perception, of course, it'll help you sleep. But I was trying to tell you that although you get instructed separately, fundamentally, they're the same instruction. Okay, and the way that I learned that or realized that was when I was in with my yoga teacher in Shavasana. And she said, find the place, if you were to draw a line from your ears, your inner ears, down through your eyes, through your tongue, there's a point where all those vectors intersect, right? Find that place in the deep center and relax there and watch it cascade through the other organs of perception. Now, so that's when you can figure out what that means and do, That's a good thing. That's not the only way I do Shavasana. I do it one organ of perception at a time also. But when I'm suddenly having to like get calm in a spot, I don't try to have to go through the litany of instruction. I find the intersecting place kind of in the center of my skull. And I let go there and let it cascade and wash through the other organs. Right. And it's amazing how your nervous system is wired for stuff like that. And it's not ever just one way or the other. It's like they have different purposes at different times. All right, everyone, have a good week. I'll stay on here, listen to comments or questions, hands together or not. Namaste. Spirit in me bows to the spirit in you. And look for that place in the intersection of your organs of perception. And if you don't, one thing I want you to know is that it's not like, oh, now I've got it the way I know where my finger is. At some place you allow and then choose that is the place. There isn't a fact of the matter, particular space. It's what the process does to your consciousness. That's what matters. So don't get caught up on the place that perfectly intersects. It just, when you go into the center of your head, it has an effect. All right.
Thanks.